Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of One Take, because life has no rehearsal. Today I am absolutely thrilled to bring Patsy Linares. So Patsy is the president of PIL Creative, and that sounds bland enough, but no. One, she's a creative director, like for real creative. Two, she's a brand specialist in the kind of thing that most of us just don't access. Luxury brands, cruises, things that require an expensive purchase. So her expertise is getting you to part with your money, and she's good at it. So Patsy, welcome. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thanks. I'm very excited to be here. I know your history in the advertising world from US to international, and I'm super excited to have these questions and interact with you.
Before I blush, then let's begin, right? So each of us, because, we're past a certain age, each of us has had many important moments, many decisive moments. But everybody seems to have one or two really important decisive moments that basically chart our career. Tell us about yours.
I think my decisive moment was deciding in my career when I started 2 in-house agencies, Norwegian Cruise Line, Casa Cruise Lines, and that was wonderful, and it was a great experience, having a great team. And then they all of a sudden shut it down, and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? And I just went in and was working for mass market cruise line brands, which I love hospitality. I'm like, I love luxury. I love everything about luxury. I go, there has to be better options out there. And not better options, but I loved working for Norwegian Cruise Line. That was a wonderful learning experience. But to be able to rebrand so many luxury brands in the cruise industry has been a blessing. From Regent Seven Seas Cruises was Radisson to Regent Seven Seas Cruises, that they still keep the logo, all the creatives for today, to we did a portion of Silver Seas Cruises. We've done Atlas Cruises. The Cunard line was a huge one when the Queen Mary 2 was coming into play. We got to meet with Katie Couric, here in Miami, and that was the first time a transatlantic cruise, that really needed to bring up, aggregate their list to be a younger audience, because their list was back to the Titanic. So Cunard was really one of my biggest, accomplishments, and the rebranding it to something that you see in cruise lines, like using blues and those kind of colors, to saying, no, Cunard's going to be different. We're going to use the red and the black and the gold from the Queen. And that's what we used. So I did a lot of different things that were not usual in branding. And then eventually I had to pivot with, again, you always have to pivot, is during COVID. We had to really digitize our traditional methods. And I think I always am grateful that I had that tradition of, traditional marketing, brochure, advertising, as you know, that's where it came from. And having that as a base, I think it's always important. Okay.
So we're both part of this really weird industry today called advertising. And a lot of people even, they say, no, I'm in marketing, as if advertising was, like the ugly sister or something, the stepsister.
Right.
I don't know. But we're both in advertising. Let's be very clear about it. We both work in an industry whose only purpose in life is to get you to make a decision, because that's what we do. Whether the decision is to buy something, to change your political views, to contribute, whatever. We are in the business of generating decisions. But it's an industry that everybody says it's dead. And yet here we are. We continue to work and we continue to make money. So tell me, let's just focus on the advertising part. Not so much on the cruise and all that, on the advertising part, because it has changed a lot. So people like you also generate change. You're not, like a shy person in there somewhere, a wilting lily kind of thing. You created an agency. The agency has been there forever. You've done things, so you have created change. But what sort of change took you totally by surprise? Something that you would have said, oh my God, I would have never thought about that.
Well, I mean, I think also what I never thought about is what COVID did to us and working in the cruise industry for so long, and how it shut down the cruise industry and what we had to do to give it life again. And that's not necessarily advertising help. Traditional advertising, we had to go really digital, and that's when we really used social media. We really used e-brochures, distribution, our email lists, and really used the brochures that we were so used to them being printed were going to be all e-brochures. So we had to find a way to distribute it. It was beautiful, luscious, high-end brochures, and be able to distribute that in a way that it can go viral. And they did. We sent them to the travel agents, we sent them to the sales force, and we just were distributing e-brochures all day long, and it was like a huge hit. People were like, okay, I can engage, I can free my mind. During COVID, everybody was like buying luxury products, like luxury purses, because they felt good. They couldn't go shopping. So it was like, let me look at these e-brochures, let me imagine, let me dream, it was almost like an escapism, like if you look like at a novel and things like that. So you had to like kind of pivot with that. And then in a sense, like, okay, what at that point does advertising happen? It's divided, right? So you think you're linear, you're very like brochure, business cards, collateral materials, whatever, and then you have, of course, your magazine advertising, right? But then that's when I think branding had a voice. So it's not just like putting these beautiful ads where you have these fake models and your retouched kind of scenario, right? This is where the true essence of branding comes in. So that's why I pivoted to more of a brand specialist, because I think in the end, it's the brand. And what form that would be in, like would it be like advertising, or would it be more linear in these different linear, because you had your horizontal space, like you had your basics, but then you had to like think of all the touch points at that point, the storytelling beyond the logo, beyond the advertising, the storytelling, the social media, LinkedIn, the different, could it be podcasts? Could you do webinars? There was a lot of webinars at the time. How is that going to be portrayed? You don't really have anything to show a webinar. You can kind of edit in, but it's a very raw kind of aspect. So a lot of our presidents and marketing specialists and travel agents were doing a lot of webinars to get people infused, because everybody was on Zoom anyways. Might as well take their time. And so I think we really pivoted to a digital way that, and of course then, a lot of digital advertising, things like all that nature really came to fruition.
One thing though, I see digital advertising as very transactional most of the time, right? Just buy this, do that, whatever. So let's join two things that we both love. You like luxury, I like chocolate. So let's talk about Godiva chocolate for a moment, right? When I was growing up, Godiva chocolate was premium and the brand was incredible. Everybody knew that they were expensive chocolates. It is the kind of chocolate that you could bring a small box to a party and everybody would think, oh, that's a really good gift.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing, 2 expensive bottles of wines or what. So how would you create a brand like Godiva today when digital is so transactional, when the market is so broken, when the younger consumer has never seen a brochure, doesn't read magazines, actually maybe doesn't even go out to a mall? Because before we could see the Godiva stores and we could see Godiva chocolates in places like Macy's and so how would you create it today as a branding specialist?
I think for me, for Godiva is just synonymous to chocolate and being a chocolatier and being a specialist. But to me, it's almost like one of the most successful campaigns I think for Godiva was they used the word diva is in Godiva.
Yeah.
And that really gave it a younger, feminine, kind of more approachable type of luxury. And it was smart, fun, more, because the Godiva thought like, just so luxury, just so out there. But it gave it more of a youthful aspect to it. And I think every brand has a heritage brand, like we're talking about Swatch and AP. I always say I always have.
Don't worry, everybody calls it AP.
Yeah.
Or PG.
Yeah, I appreciate. And having that collaboration and having Godiva use part of their name to reinforce the brand and give it more that you was brilliant. And there's so many aspects of a brand that you don't need to just say be in the same space, like pivot a little bit. Like there, especially collaborating. At that time, I'm not sure if Godiva collaborated with anybody, but I think there was somebody that was the spokesperson for the Diva advertising, the Godiva and the Diva kind of.
I don't remember.
I don't remember, but I remember it was very really brought it up to space because it was losing a lot of market share. So and I think now people for chocolate really like these specialty brands that Kim Kardashian might have or whatever. So there might be like something like special out there in chocolates, but they still have the store in here in Miami and Dayland, and they still because they're repackaged, they're infusing a lot more of a youthful aspect to it, so people can really connect to it. But again, you have to get the youth to be able to understand your brand, and that it gets passed on, but in a youthful way, which is important. So and that's what I think that AP did a great job collaborating with Swatch, because they're able. It's fantastic. The brand is represented in a sense that it's the shape, it's the visual, it's the whole essence of it, but yet it's different. And it's using different materials, more colorful. There's nothing that a heritage brand can do better than to kind of give, again, you're dividing the brand into different aspects. You have your traditionals, your loyalty members, but then you can kind of infuse the youth to give a little bit of spark, give a little bit of brand, youthfulness to a heritage brand like that's over 150 years old. How amazing it is to merge with Swatch. And you're not lessening the brand just because it is less expensive. You're making it be, still for an average, Gen Z or, it's still expensive, but at least you're having them understand it, and look how crazy it's been out there. And, the stores are going crazy. There's no way to get to a product. They're reselling it for I think they're selling for what, like $2,000.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because then your approach. So your approach is very interesting because it merges two things that I am also passionate about, which is the message, which is the branding. I really believe in branding, by the way, like you.
Yeah.
I think branding is the reason we make purchases. If not, we would all buy generic Coca-Cola or generic whatever.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. Generic car. Like Tesla is a generic car. But you merge that branding message, which basically can be carried by almost any media, because the message at the core is the brand, and then you merge that with segmentation. One of the things that I am also passionate about, I believe that you cannot have one message for everybody. Imagine you and I, we basically cannot coexist in the same universe. When you lived here in South Gables, you basically lived, quarter of a mile from my house. So we're in the same universe, yet the same message wouldn't appeal to us, to both of us, except at a very broad level, because, you're a younger woman, I'm an older guy, completely different universes too. So,
age is just a number. Age is just a number.
Yeah, but it's a big number in some cases. Oh my God. No, but it's very interesting how you mix segmentation, which is mathematically driven, actually, with branding, which has a scientific component. There are attitudinal aspects to branding that you can measure, but it's a real art. How do you capture the essence of a brand? Like, how do you capture the essence of Royal Oak? I mean, like, what is it? Why do people spend $30,000 on that? Which I'm still amazed. I hadn't realized.
I know. I hadn't realized they were more expensive than
I thought they were cheaper.
than Rolex and things like that. I mean, we went to the Felipe Paquet Museum in Geneva, and to understand that brand and understand how they have watches from the 15th century in the museum, and understand how the brand has developed, and the way their advertising has essence to it. Like you don't just buy it, you pass it on. They're not really like buy more, it's like it's almost like you pass it on from generation to generation.
I did the same thing with car museums. I went to the Porsche museum, and it's and then you see it, you say, oh my God, these people, they breathe performance, they ooze performance. That's what the brand is all about. So
Yes.
one
Yes.
last thing, and I'm going to put you on the spot. You are the president CEO of a company. You hire people. You also fire them, but like you hire people.
Yes, I do.
What does a 55-year-old person, doesn't matter woman or man, just 55-year-old person, have to say during an interview for you to hire them?
I
What's the
think
pitch?
I think the biggest pitch is that for me is like you don't need to stay in your lane. You can always go to different lanes. And I think to me it's like what is your thought process? What is the thought process? What are your habits in a sense? Like, you know, do you like to read, or you're more active, or, you know, again, you have to have, I'm not fat shaming or health shaming or whatever, but I think you are your brand, and how you look and how you your health is important. And, you know, if we're dealing with clients that are luxury products and luxury brands, like, you know, we need to look a certain way. And again, it doesn't need to be any kind of weight scenario, but, you know, there needs to be like habit forming, like, you know, make sure, like, I'd like to hire somebody that's very active, and no matter what age, and be able to understand brands and different formulations. Like, it's, you know, the brands don't have to be born. You could be an accounting firm and work on an accounting firm brand, and I've worked on something like that and been able to do something exponentially different with it. You know, take a boring brand and something boring, and come to me and say, look, I took this brand and I did this much for social media. I don't care how you look or what age, as long as you kick ass on that thing, I'm ready.
You can say
know?
kick ass. We're all adults.
Yeah. You kick ass. I'm ready. I'm there, and you're hired. And it's not only the stats, the statistics, and the analytical part, but it's also what you've done creatively, and what the thought process creatively. For example, like, you know, one of our clients, I'm getting a little technical issue here. Can you hear me fine?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, that's a brand Casa Campo was like, you know, I call it rustic luxury, because you're literally outside sweating the whole time. But they had so many different facets, like the shooting, the this or that. They could have just been a beautiful resort brand, having fabulous people there. But no, let's divide it. You had the shooting, so we geared the shooting to that segment. We geared the boating to that segment. We geared the real estate to that segment. You know, so, you know, be smart about your loyalty and how you're segmenting and how you're dividing the brand, you know, and what the storytelling is behind each of those parts of the brand can be so exciting and so innovative in that sense. So there's so many parts to branding that I think that's why I'm like, as much as we started in advertising, I think of brand is so huge.
Yeah, no, awesome. I mean, like, we advertise the brand, but like, so,
yeah.
And I have been after older people, of course, to go to the gym, lift weights, get active. Yes, I truly agree with you.
Okay,
so
for example,
that active component will get them hired.
Right, exactly. You know, because I think, like, our age, we're good. You know, and just, you have to, like, you know, be important. You know, how you look is your brand, is who you are, and what you're communicating to other people and stuff. And again, it's not about a weight thing. It's just, you know, how you feel. And the book Limitless is really good. You know, like, Atomic Habits. You know, Limitless. Like, what your habits are, like, you know, like, you know, making sure you organize, and, you know,
I should read that. I need more.
Yeah, Atomic Habits is great.
Yeah. I'm highly disorganized.
Yeah,
so, Patsy, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. I know branding is going through some, you know, difficult times, but, you know, definitely, you know, we should keep in touch. I definitely want to keep in touch. I want to see what the next step will be.
I definitely have next steps for you. And how AI is a component of that, especially at this age. You know, what AI can do for you. Do you want my AI? Do you want my avatar to look even younger? Or do you want, you know, so there's different
I'll create an avatar for me. Well, thank you very much. It was a real pleasure. And then, you know, we'll definitely be in touch. Absolutely.
No. Part 2. There'll be a part 2.
Part 2 and a part 3 also. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.